start or I should start first?
You may please. You may start. First, please.
Okay, sir. Respected Member Secretary, Additional Member Secretary, respected Sinha Saab, the coordinators and all the participants. So this chapter 2 is quite important in our discussion because apart from the overall organizational structure, it has two main aspects. First is the medical aspect and second is the correctional aspect of the jail inmates. So as far as the organizational structure is concerned, our report is quite concise and there is only issue of two posts, Senior Assistant Superintendent and Sub-Assistant Superintendent. In the side corner on the page number 30, we propose that the prison department may consider retaining of these posts. So what I suggest that it sounds more like these posts are no more required. But from the discussions what I have held with our local jail authorities, I think we should be more concrete in proposing that these posts must be retained, particularly when the Punjab Police Department on parity has these both the posts. Now coming forward to the medical cadre, the table which is on page number 33 is quite surprising because the sanction strength is 77 and we have present working or available strength of 90. So the first recommendation which must come is with regard to enhancement of the sanction strength itself. Our sanction strength as far as the medical cadre is concerned is very less. And as it has been pointed out by both the superintendents having charge of this topic, we don't have proper medical staff to cater to the needs of the inmates. It can be basically divided into two or three separate parts. What, as per me, we should propose is a uniform policy or a uniform system for medical treatment of inmates at state level, which can be implemented uniformly throughout the state. Presently, what we have, the jail doctor is coming on ad hoc or what we say temporary basis for 3 months or 6 months. He is not much concerned with the jail inmates or their overall medical treatment. Then when those what I can say patients, they are referred to the outside institutions like PGI or Sector 32 Chandigarh. Then what happens, the police personnel are taken from the police department and then they are not much concerned with the patients. What they do, they'll come late. When they take the patients to the hospital, at that hospital there is not. What has been seen is that mostly the patients are taken from jail by doing much efforts, but then they are returned back without any kind of treatment. So there should be permanent staff with the jail. We must propose that as per the capacity of the jail or as per the proportionate intake by the jail of the inmates, there should be a bare minimum staff of the police personnel who will have only duty to take the patients to the outstationed institutions, and there should be some process of liaising by the jail doctor or the jail medical institution with the outside institution, so that there is proper system in place, and when a person is taken out of the jail to the outside institution, then he is at least given the treatment and he is not returned without any kind of activity or any kind of treatment. Then the another point which has been already taken by the superintendent, there is need of psychologists and psychiatrists. It has been seen that our jails are not providing a good and effective correctional system to the inmates. Most of the time, what we have seen is inmates are just being lodged in the custody or captivity. They of mental stress which they are not able to cope up with because of their low IQ, less education, all those factors. So what is required is some permanent psychologist or psychiatrist who can counsel them on all these aspects, on how the life is to be taken ahead and how the pressure of being in custody for a long period of time is to be taken care of. The next part is the sanction staff strength and vacancies. As far as we have 8 heads under this part. As far as executive and guarding staff is concerned, the report is quite clear. It can be clearly validated.
One aspect is medical examination of the person when he enters the jails.
Please.
ठीक है, वैसे generally police ने ਉਹਦਾ medical कराया ਹੁੰਦਾ, but ਜਿਹੜਾ ਪੰਜਾਬ ਜੇਲ ਮੈਨੂਅਲ ਹੈਗਾ ਉਹ ਇਹ ਕਹਿ ਰਿਹਾ ਹੈਗਾ ਕਿ ਜਿਸ ਵੇਲੇ ਕੋਈ ਬੰਦਾ ਐਂਟਰ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਹੈ ਉਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਉਹਦਾ ਜੇਲ੍ਹ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਡਾਕਟਰ ਹੈਗਾ ਉਹਨੇ ਮੈਡੀਕਲ ਸੈਪਰੇਟ ਕਰਨਾ ਹੈ ਤੇ ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਕੋਈ ਇੰਜਰੀਜ਼ ਲੱਗਦੀਆਂ ਹੈਗੀਆਂ then he has to forward that MLR to the district magistrate and the office of SSP. ਮੇਰੇ ਖਿਆਲ ਉਹ ਪੰਜਾਬ 'ਚ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੋ ਰਿਹਾ ਹੈਗਾ ਕਾਫੀ ਜਗ੍ਹਾ ਕਿ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਉਹ ਸੋ ਦੈਟ ਆਲ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਡਾਕਟਰਸ ਹੈਗੇ ਆ ਪਲੀਜ਼ ਇਸ ਗੱਲ ਤੇ ਜਿਸ ਵੇਲੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਕਰਨ ਆਵੇ ਪਲੀਜ਼ ਅਲਾਈਟਨ ਕਰਨ ਕਿ ਜੇ ਪੰਜਾਬ ਜੇਲ੍ਹ 'ਚ ਇਹ ਕੰਮ ਹੋ ਰਿਹਾ ਜਾਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੋ ਰਿਹਾ. ਥੈਂਕ ਯੂ ਵੈਰੀ ਮਚ.
ਜੀ sir is very much right in this observation. It is not being followed and the jail authorities mostly rely upon the medical which police personnel have already procured or taken from the local civil hospital. So coming to the sanction staff strength, I am much concerned with the 4th and 5th part, which is welfare units and educational personnel. Rest of the part has been covered by the superintendent of the jail. And the report is quite clear and concise to the effect that all the vacant posts must be filled immediately, and there should be a system in place that whenever a post is going to lie vacant, at least 6 months ahead there should be a process should be started for filling the post through the appropriate mode, whatever is prescribed. So as far as welfare units and education personnel are concerned, as we can see in the chart on page 33, the sanctioned staff itself is quite less. It is 16 for the welfare unit in whole of the Punjab and 19 posts for educational personnel. It is even if we'll go and the available staff is only 12 as far as welfare units are concerned and 5 for educational personnel. So even as per the number of jails, we are not having one person each for the welfare unit and for education person in every jail. So this is quite a serious aspect to be considered into, because ultimately by just naming our jails as Sudhar Ghar will not achieve our target. We must have a correctional system or policy again at the state level in place where we can provide some uniform pattern for the jails to work upon. As I have earlier said, the jail inmates are just sitting in the jail, being in captivity. They are doing not at all nothing, and there are no educational classes. There is no work. Under trials cannot work. There are no psychologists to guide. So there should be some system where we keep them engaged physically as well as mentally, so that firstly they can bear the burden of being in captivity, and secondly they have something to do, because ultimately it is human nature that one must be involved or should be doing something in his routine life, otherwise the depression will take over him. That system is much required where we can prescribe it on the state level, some routine of the inmates time wise, just like a college have classes subject wise, or we have cases in the court. Similarly, jail should have a schedule. Each jail should have a schedule, and the discretion can be given to the jail superintendent to monitor it as well as to adjust it as per the local requirements. But presently no such system is there. That is why a lot of other problems are also rising, as earlier discussed by the jail superintendent. It has been proposed in the report at page number 37 that there should be own cadre in all the fields, and there should be no dependence upon the external cadres like Punjab Armed Police, Indian Reserve Battalion, and Home Guard, etc. So, what I think it may not be possible because ultimately jail department cannot effectively train the armed personnel or the other staff like Home Guard or ex-servicemen corporation. So they'll have to rely upon the outside agencies, and it is ultimately better for them, like for they have Central Reserve Forces as well, Indian Reserve Battalions. So it is helpful for them to properly monitor the security because ultimately at the outer periphery there is always a need of armed forces who are well trained in their field to tackle with all kind of incidents which may happen. Coming to the budget and expenditure aspect, the report is again surprising to the effect that staff mostly complain that there is not proper budget, and the data shows that the budget available has not been properly utilized. So this part can be due to improper training of the concerned DDOs or the persons at the helm of affairs who is to utilize the budget. For that, our report can recommend that there should be periodical training for the concerned persons, for the jail superintendent, as to how the budget is to be utilized in proper manner, how not to get it, how not to keep it unutilized, and then there should be separate head for medical. That can also be proposed, because it has been seen that it relates to the earlier point of medical cadre, that hospitals in the jails do not have proper medicines to be given to the prisoners. Most of the prisoners are seen in want of the medicines for skin diseases, and that bare minimum medicine is also not available with the jail hospital. So if there can be some separate head in the budget itself for expenditure on the medical and particularly on purchasing of medicines, that can be helpful directly to the prisoners. Then our report proposes that the basic limit of ₹100, which has been prescribed in financial rules for the purpose of permanent advance, it has been capped at ₹100 and it should be enhanced. So I'll go a step further and I'll suggest that the report must recommend as to at what level it should be taken, say ₹5,000 or ₹25,000. So we must propose it in the present scenario as to if the rules, financial rules are to be amended, then what should be the limit which we must fix so as to cater to our present needs. So those are the major points. Then coming to the issues of prison officials, the officials have raised relevant points as to their promotions, their prioritization in the services, then treatment of women officials. All those aspects are required to be looked into, and report can be validated on those aspects. As far as the BC production of inmates is concerned to the courts and laying of blame on the prison staff, this is a simple aspect which can be looked into by putting in more VC setups. I have seen that there are very few VC systems available in the jail, and if a jail has under trial population of more than 700 or 800, 2 systems or 3 systems cannot cater to the need. Out of those 700 persons, there must be 200 or 300 who may be having hearing in the different courts of Punjab. And then there is time slots. A jail cannot have a time slot as per its own convenience from the court concerned. So our report must propose firstly that there should be more VC systems. Then we must propose some proportionate data as to we say 30 for every 30 inmates, one system, one VC setup, with a technical staff member and a police personnel or the jail staff member who can operate that VC and get those 30 inmates produced in different jails of Punjab. On that pattern, if we can have VC setup, then it will effectively solve this issue of production of under trials, because it is not only concerned with the laying of blame on the jail staff, but it also hinders the court proceedings and the trial itself, due to which the custody of that inmate is enhanced in the jail. Otherwise, if his case can conclude in less time, his custody will accordingly be dealt accordingly. So those are all the aspects. Rest have already been dealt with by the jail superintendents. With that, I thank you all. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Since we are running slightly ahead of